Good afternoon. Let's continue our talk on taste deprivation. Well, let's call it by another name, starvation. What's brought this to mind is the fact that I dealt this last month with a friend of mine's mother who literally starved herself to death due to her Alzheimer's because she couldn't taste anything anymore. Nothing had any taste. Then on top of that, I read a real old article from late 80s, early 90s about a couple from Florida. Them and their two kids wanted to move up to the Sawtooth Range of Montana. And they carried lots of beans and rice and, dried potatoes and stuff like that. They had canned goods. But the problem was they didn't have any spices. Folks, we Americans have become very accustomed to food being flavorful, is the best way to put it. We use all kinds of chili powders, onion salts and powders, garlic salts and powders. We use spices in this country. That's as big a prep item as anything you can get your hands on. In the MRE that I showed you the other day, it had a pouch of hot sauce. Hot sauce does two things. It promotes digestion, but it also changes the taste. Now, one of the things I want to point out to a lot of you that are thinking about MREs is, from everything I've seen that they put into MREs, excuse me, it's comfort foods. That's all they are comfort foods. High carbs, low protein, they're designed, and high fats. They're designed to give you energy, to help you be able to continue the fight. You can do the same thing off of certain fats. I had the privilege the other day of talking to a gentleman who was a member of the Bataan Death March. And he and I got talking. I had mother in a doctor's appointment, so I was sitting there talking. I noticed the guy's hat. We got talking. And he told me that after he got home from World War II, that he and his wife didn't understand it, but now she does. He became a stockpiler. Oh, for those of you wondering, stockpilers, survivalists, preppers, whatever you want to call us. And we were chatting, and he looked at me and he said, every American home used to have a minimum of a year's supply of food in their homes. He said, today, I'll bet you most homes can't go a week without going to the grocery store. And I laughed and I told him he's lucky. He's stating long facts because most of them can't go more than a day or two without having to go to the grocery store, to Walmart, or somewhere to get something more. The one thing he kept telling me was that I needed to stock up. He asked me about spices and stuff. And I told him I had some. And he said, he looked at me and he says, you know, some spices are medicinal. And that I knew. But he said, some spices work on your psyche. And that I knew. And he said, most of the spices, as long as they're kept in a cool, dry, dark place, don't ever go bad. That I didn't know. He told me he was using onion powder that was over 10 years old. He says you open it, peel the top back, and take a sniff of it, and you can still smell the onion. So folks, if I can, one thing I've got to tell all of you is get a hold of spices. Make sure that your families have lots of spices and get them used to eating spiced up foods. Now you guys in Europe that are watching these videos, hey, I'm telling you, you've got availability to things we don't have. And if you're in the Asian countries, God, you guys have availabilities to things that we only dream about over here in the United States. So, folks, please, while you're stockpiling stuff into your cabinets, remember, you got to have spices. The more spices, the better. And I'll tell you that if it were me, I'd buy pre-ground spices. Because pre-ground will keep you from having to figure out, mortar and pestle. That's not much fun. I've tried that. So, well, there you go, folks. That'll end this conversation on taste deprivation or starvation. Just remember, you've got to have enough food to be able to last at least a minimum of 3 to 4 years. And before anybody starts telling me, well, I'm going to grow a garden, I have friends who it took 2 to 3 years to get their gardens up and running good. So, that's the world according to the ancient warrior. We will be here pretty quick. We're going to be talking on self-made MREs. Stuff that you can put together, put in your bag, and it'll be a little bit better, not much, but a little bit better than what an MRE would do. So, have a blessed day. And remember, if you've got food in the house, you're able to cook it, you're part of free America. Thank you, and good day.